I don't know if my room is any indication of my mental state recently. But I figured it was time to try and do something about it. I thought maybe it'd be a little easier with some friends along for the ride. I'm just gonna start cleaning. But from there, I'm also watching the Mission Impossible movies right now while doing so. This is actually so embarrassing. Like, the fact that one can hold a full-time job and get themselves up every morning out the door, but the minute I step back into this house, I'm just utterly useless. Frankly embarrassing. Also, ignore how half of this rack is empty. I'm currently in the process of packing up my winter clothes and putting up my summer clothes. But then I also have a couple leather jackets that I do not like putting in boxes, so they're just gonna hang there for forever. I love this skirt. My mom actually found it. It was in her stuff, but I bought it as part, it was like a two-piece dress that I wore to my 8th grade dance, I think. And I still have the top as well. This was the top piece. And I remember this feeling so promiscuous with the midriff hanging out. You know, in the end, I think I didn't even wear it, maybe. Maybe I did. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, my mom found this skirt in her stuff the other day, and I was like, it is so cute. Like, I love the pleats on it. And I wore it the other day, and I got so many compliments. The only problem is it's like a little bit too long for me, but that's what heels are for, baby. Which I don't wear because I have terrible feet. I buy a lot of heels, but I don't get much use out of them. I struggle with my wardrobe so much because I feel like my weight fluctuates a lot. And then, you know, one day something that I feel super comfortable in doesn't feel as good anymore. And it's like a very overwhelming feeling when you're in a rush to get out the door, and then I just spent the whole day not feeling right in my clothes. And then, like, I don't know, I feel like I've been, over the past year, I've been getting rid of so much stuff and then slowly trying to buy the right things, and yet at the same time I still feel like I never have anything to wear, and it makes me so mad. I wore the wrong shirt with this the other day, and it got like all the pilling all over it, so that's not fun. This is my favorite hoodie. My sister bought it for me for Christmas or my birthday one year, and I wear it all the time, and like now it's getting too hot to wear it anymore, but I'm gonna be going on a trip this summer somewhere cooler, so I think I'm gonna take this with me. I narrowed down the pile, and this is all stuff that needs to get washed. You don't want to see how overflowing my laundry basket is right now. I'm watching the Mission Impossible movies right now. I watched the first one yesterday and I'm watching the second one today. Not enjoying the second one quite as much, but I don't know, a couple weeks ago I watched all the Oceans movies, Oceans 11, 12, 13, and 8, in like a 2-day span, and I just had so much fun with it. I don't know, I think, and I watched them all on weekdays. It was, I don't know, it was a nice way to just throw myself into a fictional world, and you know, not have to think about like what the next movie I'm gonna choose is, and knowing I can just dive into that same world again. So then for some reason Mission Impossible was the next thing that came to mind, and I know there's a new one coming out this year, so I was like, let me just watch these now. I'm not the biggest action movie fan, but it's been entertaining so far, so it's different than what I was expecting though. But I swear this is how I spend most of my days, which is so sad. Literally just scrolling through my phone. This week I've been doing a better job of leaving my phone in my room when I get home from work, and then just like sitting in the living room and watching a movie there or reading a book. I've been trying to get myself to work out again, but it's been really difficult to get myself back in that mindset. I've been trying to like wake up before work to work out, but that is just not happening. You can't get me to wake up at 5 a.m. and then move my body in such ways. So, but I also hate working out at night, like after work. My ideal time to work out is between 8 and 11 a.m. and that is just so inconvenient when you're employed. It's not possible, unfortunately. I've surprisingly read a lot of books this year already. I think I've read 16, which has mostly been thanks to audiobooks. I was not a big audiobook person before this year, but I really would not have had as much time to read if it wasn't for those. I listen to them like on my way to work and my way back, and sometimes while I'm doing stuff at work. Let's go through the books that I've read so far. As you can see, only 5 of them have been physical books. Most have been audiobooks. The first book I read this year was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I loved this. I thought it was so interesting, and it's a very long book, but I think I read it in like 2-3 days max. It's so good, and I can't wait to read the second one. The first audiobook that I listened to was called Big Swiss. It was interesting. I don't think I'd read it again, and I don't necessarily think I enjoyed it, but it was interesting. I also read The Spell Shop. That was as part of a book club that I'm in with a couple of friends from around the world. We've all fallen off of like actually reading stuff in there, but I think that's okay because at least like personally I've been in quite a bit of a slump the last year or so. So I've kind of just been trying to read whatever sounds interesting to me rather than, you know, force myself to read this one thing for sure. And then I listened to the Dune audiobook. I listened to Dune and then Dune Messiah. I loved the Dune movie, and I never would have gone to watch it if it hadn't been for a friend in college who was really interested, so I just went with her and I loved it. I mean, it is a tremendous movie-going experience, so I think I had confused that with enjoying the story that is being told. And when I listened to these audiobooks, I realized it is not the actual story that I enjoyed so much. And I actually started the third one, but I had said to my friends, I was like, these books suck. And my friend responded and she's like, and yet you continue reading them? I was like, you were so right. I don't know why I'm putting myself through this. I really thought like it would get better, and maybe it does, but I mean, I'm not a big sci-fi person to begin with, so I don't think I would have enjoyed it at all. Then I read The Portrait of a Lady. This is heavy stuff. It's the first half and the second half are so different. I really love the first half, and I think it was more, you know, low stakes. And then versus in the second half, you get like this total switch, and you're dealing with more of the adult stuff, and you know, sometimes we don't want to deal with that, we just want escapism. And then I also read Together Tea. This is about a girl who travels back to Iran with her mom, and you know, just kind of reconciles with her life, her current life, and her past, and her family's past. And you get some chapters from the mom's perspective as well, and it was just so beautiful. I am Iranian, and it's always been, it's a very fascinating, a very strange relationship to have, being from a country quite literally on the opposite side of the world that I live on, and still feeling so drawn to it. And I just think the way that she talks about being Iranian in this book is something that I resonate with quite a bit. I think we have similar experiences with it, and it honestly, I have a couple pages that I like bookmarked too, but it just made me see the country in a slightly different way, to think about things that I hadn't thought about before, and it made me really miss it. So then I listened to the Silent Patient audiobook. I did not enjoy it very much. I kind of saw the end coming. I had read The Maidens last year, and I really enjoyed that, but I think it had to do more with the fact that I read it all in one day at like midnight, so I was sleep deprived, and also, you know, I wasn't familiar with this author before, versus like with this one, I think it just felt very repetitive almost to me. And then I listened to The More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop audiobook. I did not realize, I was just like scrolling through my Libby app looking for an available audiobook, and this popped up. I didn't realize it was the second book to the Days at the Morisaki Bookshop novel. So I read the second one first, and then I went back and read the first one. I love both of these, especially the second one. I don't know if it's just because I listened to it first or what. It's an intense story. It's cozy, it makes you think a lot, it's beautiful, and I will be purchasing a physical copy so I can revisit it all the time. I listened to a couple more audiobooks, There, which was really good. I really enjoyed the audiobook format for this because I think it just worked well with it being so many different stories, and you know, getting to hear them all. And then I also listened to the Bad Feminist audiobook. I think that this can be a very important piece of work, especially for anyone who is getting into feminism. I didn't necessarily find anything in it revolutionary. There was maybe one or two points that like had me go, I hadn't thought about that way before. But for the most part, it was like interesting to hear about someone else's, you know, personal experience with feminism and the intersection it has with race as well. And then I listened to the Lincoln and the Bardo audiobook, I don't know why, but for some reason it was really hard for me to concentrate with this one. So I didn't really get much out of it, so I think I'll be revisiting it as a physical book. The audiobook format just didn't work for me for that one. I listened to the audiobook of My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. This was really good. I think it fell into my lap at a very perfect moment, and it was just one of those things where it was like really exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And it was, yeah, it was fascinating. I do have thoughts on this one. I don't necessarily know if there's some other ones that I want to share with others, but it was really fascinating. I've been kind of almost obsessive over my body this year specifically, and I think it was just really exactly what I needed to just hear another person's stories and experiences with their own. And she's a phenomenal writer. She also reads the audiobook, which I think adds a lot of emotional depth to it. And there is this one essay at the end that, yeah, I think you have to listen to it, honestly. And then I read the second book in the Neapolitan Quartet. This is the story of a new name, so it follows my brilliant friend. If you know anything about me, you know I am obsessed with my brilliant friend. I read it about 2 or 3 years ago now, and I was too scared to pick the second one up. I was just like reeling from that high for so long, but she does not disappoint. I think I still prefer the first one over this. I think I like the first one a little bit more than this, but I think this was a really good progression of the story, and I'm just so grateful that I have 2 more novels to get through. I actually bought the 3rd one recently, so hopefully I'll read it soon and not wait another 3 years. And then the last book that I've read so far is Paris for One by Jojo Moyes. It's honestly a pretty short story. And then there's a couple extra other stories at the end. Honestly, it was a good palate cleanser. It's this girl books a trip to Paris for her and her boyfriend, and he flakes last minute, so she ends up doing it all by herself. I am also obsessed with the idea of moving to Paris. I don't know what it is. First of all, I've been obsessed with Paris since I was a child. I think I'm obsessed with the idea of moving somewhere that I have no ties to, and I don't know anyone. And Paris is obviously such a romanticized place that I think it's quite natural that is where my mind goes to. This is a nice piece of escapism. I wouldn't say it's well written or a particularly good story, but you know, when you need something to escape to, it doesn't need to be. But yeah, honestly, that was just an excuse to procrastinate on cleaning more, but thank you for listening. I bought an iPad recently. Don't know how to use it. I bought it off of Back Market, which sells like refurbished stuff, so it was like $500 cheaper than a normal iPad. I don't have a case for it yet though. It's coming on Sunday. I feel so... I understand why people do this with these pens. Anyway, this has been the highlight of my 2025 so far. It's so strange looking at my texts on here. They're so huge. Anyway, just thought I'd share that too. It's so thin, it's scary.